Mr. Taha Yassine Ramadan declared himself on the record on February 9th, 2005, in front of the investigative team of 3 judges and in presence of the chief prosecutor and the defendant's lawyer. He said, I quote, "I was contacted by Saddam Hussein on the phone, who was then president of the Republic, and he informed me that he got attacked in the town of Dujail. And he asked me to go meet with the security officials whom he ordered to be present at the National Council headquarters. And indeed, I went there and I found Mr. Fadel al-Barak, who was head of security and who was himself executed later on for other reasons. I also found someone else whose name I don't recall and who informed me that he represented the head of intelligence services, and he informed me that the head of intelligence services has gone to meet with Saddam Hussein. And there were also 2 or 3 people whom I don't recall. During that meeting, a plan of action has been debated and agreed upon, a comprehensive security plan concerning the situation of Dujail. At the same time, the defendant Barzan met with defendant Saddam at Radwaniyah, and the latter commissioned him to conduct the operations in Dujail. When Barzan got to Dujail, he used the local party headquarters as a base for the military operations. Immediately, the Popular Army, the Presidential Guard, the security and intelligence organs also proceeded to besieging the whole region of Dujail. Helicopters started bombing the orchards at random, resulting in a number of casualties of the civilians who were tending to their fields. The number of people who later were detained reached into the hundreds. All that happened by order of the defendant Barzan al-Takriti, who stayed in the region for 3 consecutive days before leaving for Baghdad, while the army and the security and intelligence services continued arresting other families and transferring them to the intelligence headquarters in Baghdad. And a number of defendants have acknowledged this humanitarian tragedy that took place in Dujail. Among them, defendant Abdullah Kazim Ruwaid, defendant Mizhar Abdullah Kazim, defendant Ali Dayesh, and Muhammad al-Azzawi, when their depositions were being taken in presence of the investigative judge. In addition to the depositions of the civil parties and the depositions of witnesses, and in addition to all the documents that have been deemed genuine by forensic experts and which have been presented to this court. When those cohorts of detainees reached the intelligence service headquarters, they were interrogated, they were cruelly tortured, resulting in the death of 46 detainees among them, who have been named in the indictment, in addition to a number of deaths also under cruel torture. The number of deaths has been established in the document issued by the intelligence services, document number M7C1/560, dated February 3rd, 1987. In the same document, there was mention of a committee formed by heads of 5 intelligence subsections under the chairmanship of Saad Radi, and the membership of Salah Khalaf, the head of security of Mawqif, Samar Muhammad, the head of administrative section, and Jassim Hammadi, investigation official in the intelligence service, and Muhammad Abdul Hussein, also a security official. This document states in paragraph 3, and I quote, "A decision has been made to defer 148 people to the Revolutionary Court, and they have been sentenced to death, and the sentence has been approved. And among those sentenced to death, 46 have already been killed or died under interrogation." End quote. This was the text, and the text appears as I read it in the cited document. After that, and following up on the story of the detainees, they have been transferred to the prison of Abu Ghraib in the section of the intelligence services, where they stayed for more than 6 months, during which they were tortured, both physically and psychologically. After which the intelligence personnel transferred the women and the children and the elderly, who totaled 399 people, to the Layal camp in the desert of Muthanna, next to the border with Saudi Arabia, without any legal grounds for such an action. And they remained there until April 1986, as mentioned in the intelligence document number 1106, dated May the 8th, 1983, and document 1147, dated on May 14th, 1983, both directed to the head of the Al-Muthanna sector, requesting the implementation of the detention order of the 399 people, all women, children, and elderly, while those who survived have been referred to the Revolutionary Court according to the referral order number 6216, dated on May 27, 1984, and signed by the defendant Saddam Hussein. After that, the Revolutionary Court, presided by defendant Awad Kamal al-Bandar, issued its order number 944, dated June 14, 1984, sentencing all those referred to it to the death penalty by hanging, and their number was 148 people. And what is surprising here is the fact that the Revolutionary Court, as soon as it received the referral order, issued its sentence against the 148 people and ordered their execution and the confiscation of all their estate, without the court ever being held or the presence of any lawyers. And 2 days after the sentence was issued, the defendant Saddam Hussein issued a Republican decree number 778, dated June 16, 1984, endorsing the death penalty against all of the 148 victims, and the sentence was carried out against the victims on March 23rd, 1985, according to the memorandum from the Prison Directorate number 1280, dated on March 23rd, 1985. According to the documents presented to this honorable court and the depositions of the civil parties, it has been established that the victims that have been sentenced to death never attended the courthouse, and that some of them have been killed during the interrogation, and their names have been referred to the court and were sentenced to death. This tragic episode did not end at that point. The services, and by order of defendant Taha Yassine Ramadan, proceeded to demolish the homes of the victims, loot their contents, bulldoze their fields and orchards, and force the inhabitants of the region to live in deep poverty by denying them the main source of their life. These events